Hey guys, this is 𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘. So we actually did this video in one go, but we decided later on to split it into two parts. So here's your intro. Welcome back to another episode on Rebuilding You, and today we will be going through how we can build our very own customized skincare routine. Enjoy!
So now we will get into how we can build and evaluate our own skincare routine. So there are three areas here that we can focus on. The first one is what is your skin type. The second one is the external and internal factors that affect our skin. And the third one is our skin goals.
Starting off with our skin types, it's no surprise that everyone has a different skin type. Our skin has different tolerance levels for ingredients and the products that we use. So it's really important that we educate ourselves and also understand our own skin in order to build a skincare routine that is most fitting and suitable for our skin. So starting off with the skin types, mainly there's dehydrated, there's dry, combination, oily, and acne prone. My own, I have oily and acne prone skin. I get breakouts on anywhere on my face. My acne, they don't have a favorite spot. They like my whole face. They show up on my entire face. Okay, what's yours, Kai?
Mine is combination dehydrated and oily acne prone skin. So why I say dehydrated is because like when I crinkle my forehead like this, I can feel that my skin is tight, and it's also really oily on the T-zone area. Yeah, and it breaks out a lot, so it's kind of acne prone. What's yours, Alicia?
So as I mentioned earlier, I have very sensitive skin. Now, having very sensitive skin is different from having sensitized skin. Anybody can have sensitized skin. It's like getting a sunburn. Anybody can get it. Your skin is more sensitive, but it isn't predisposed to be sensitive. I have naturally sensitive skin, so this means that my skin barrier, or the topmost layers of my skin, are more prone to irritation than the average skin. So I'm going to break this down a little bit more so you can see why understanding our skin type is really important. So because I have sensitive skin, and the root cause of this is that my barrier is weaker, this means that I will have a range of different issues that 𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘 or 𝗤𝗏𝗡 might have, but cannot be solved the same way. So I have dehydrated skin, but my dehydrated skin is there because my skin barrier is weak. If you think about it like this, you have a sponge, and when you fill it with water, it absorbs it, and later on it evaporates. How strong your skin barrier is sort of deals with how quickly that sponge evaporates or not. So if your skin barrier isn't very strong, all of that water is going to evaporate really easily, leaving your skin dehydrated. And when your skin is dehydrated, it's more prone to irritation. You can think of it as a dry sponge. It's not very malleable, it's easy to pull apart, that sort of thing. So understanding all of this means that I can now tailor what I want for my skin. So for example, on top of having sensitive skin, which leads to dehydration, I also have a combination skin type. So let's go into acids for a little bit. There are a couple of different acids that do not burn your face off, they just gently chemically exfoliate your skin. And so what is often recommended for sensitive skin is things like lactic acid or mandelic acid, or something called a PHA, where the molecules are bigger, so they are less likely to penetrate as deeply. However, if I were only sensitive skinned and the rest of my skin was generally normal, this would be great for me. But I have combination skin, meaning the acid that is most successful for my skin goals is salicylic acid, which is known as a BHA, and is what kind of dissolves up the oil, sucks up the blackheads, things like that, and overall reduces congestion. So my skin type is actually predisposed to that, but because I have sensitive skin, I have to think of ways to be able to use salicylic acid, which is most successful and most useful for my also combination skin. And so a couple other areas of this that you can also think about is that sometimes what we think is our skin type is also just a skin condition, which is a result of potential external factors and internal factors. And so once you deal with understanding your skin condition by understanding these factors, then you'll be able to really understand your skin type and really understand how to work with it.
So next, we should also take into consideration the external and internal factors that affect our skin. So for me, the most obvious factor that breaks me out is my diet. Like if I take too much dairy or sugar or like wheat, because of my weak digestive system, it breaks me out a lot. So once in a while it's okay, but if I eat like poop every day, then my skin pays for it. What about you, 𝗣𝗟𝗓?
Well, for me, the most obvious factors would be stress and also my period. I think it's the same for a lot of people, and especially girls, to get it before your period. I get it 1 week before, I get really bad breakouts all over my face, and also during assignment and exam seasons where I don't get a lot of sleep. How about you, Alicia? I heard you don't sleep at all as well from your Instagram.
Yeah, I'm generally quite sleep deprived just because I'm like keeping up with like classes and being in a different time zone for my lectures makes having a normal sleep schedule kind of difficult. I'm quite grateful or like quite lucky in the sense that it doesn't impact my skin too much, but what really does is if I consume a lot of dairy or sugar, I will really pay for it in the form of like really big breakouts all across my chin for like a week. But a couple other less well-known factors aside from what we already mentioned would be things like external stressors and our climate. So a lot of people don't actually think about either of these. So let's start with external stressors. Think of external stressors as our environment, the things around us that we cannot control. For example, even though Malaysia is super humid, I'm always in an air-conditioned environment, which is super drying and dehydrating. So I have to compensate for that, say with a slightly thicker moisturizer or an oil, or even increasing my serums. Other than that, other external stressors are things like your skincare habits, and let's say pollution in the air, even like the sun. If you're out in the sun for too long, that's going to impact how your skin is feeling and how stressed out it gets. Let's talk a little bit about the skincare habits. Some things that you can probably implement right away or think about is how often you are cleansing. Do you cleanse in the morning and at night, or do you only cleanse at night? The first thing I've usually suggested to my friends who tell me that they find that their skin is very dry or very oily is I'll ask them, how many times are you cleansing in the day? And why don't you, and if they say that they're cleansing twice a day, I'll let them know, okay, why don't you try just cleansing once a day and only use water in the morning and see if the current symptoms you're having goes down a little bit. So that's an example. The other one that is climate, this is a little bit tricky. Climate is so important in understanding how a different external factor might impact your skin, because let's say I have the exact same skin type as somebody else and we have, for whatever reason, anything you could imagine is the same except the climate, they will have a vastly different skincare routine than I would have. As it is, in Malaysia, my routine is fairly simple, but the moment I'm in the States, in a really dry and arid climate, I have to swap out moisturizers. And the other factors mentioned are just things like lifestyle and diet, stress that 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘 and 𝗣𝗟𝗓 already mentioned.
Alright, so moving over to the next section to this video, which is setting up our own skin goals. I think doing this particular step is really helpful when it comes to building your own personalized skincare routine, because if you don't know what you want or you're trying to achieve, you will be easily swayed by all the marketing that they're doing, and also the salespersons telling you that, oh, you need this, you need that, but when in actual fact you don't. So for instance, for my own, I am always trying to unclog my pores because, like I said, I have an oily skin, so they do clog up easily because there's excess sebum. So in order to do this, most of the stuff that I buy will be focused on this, which is trying to unclog my pores. So let's say I will buy a chemical exfoliator or a charcoal mask, for instance, just to unclog my pores. So if a salesperson were to come to me telling me that I should try a different kind of mask, which is really moisturizing, rejuvenating and stuff like that, it all sounds really good, but I won't be easily swayed by them because I know what I want personally. How about you guys? What's your own skincare goals?
My goal is to heal my damaged skin barrier and to the point where I no longer get any breakouts, and also I want to take care of my digestive system and my gut health, as I mentioned before, because those are the main reasons for my breakouts. So by healing my damaged skin barrier, what I do is I have a very minimal skincare routine. So I only use the very core essentials, which is cleanser, sometimes a serum, and then moisturizer and sunscreen. That's all I use. Because the more products I put on my face, the more chemicals and stuff that is going on there, and it's not gonna be helpful for my damaged skin barrier. And yeah, and another goal I want to have is it's not related to the skincare products, but it's like my own personal goal, which is I want to accept and love my skin the way it is, like regardless of all the pimples and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I've mentioned my skin barrier a couple times, and I would really love to have a very healthy skin barrier. Maybe I can't get it to the same level as, say, someone with normal skin. I would like to have a much healthier skin barrier, and I think I'm slowly on the way there. Yeah, but I think let's talk a little bit more about how you can set your goals. So the first thing is that your goal needs to be realistic. The second thing is that it needs to be trackable. So I'm going to give you an example of an unrealistic goal. One of it would be to have glass skin. Glass skin, as we have seen it in videos and all of that stuff, it doesn't come about just immediately. You have to think about the lighting that these models are in, if they have just prepped their skin, if there is water on their skin, if there is any kind of editing or retouching or trying to even out the color, if there is any of that at all, that is something that you cannot achieve at home by yourself just looking in your mirror, because you don't have any of that at your disposal. And I mean, if you want to look for good lighting while you're doing your skincare, that's fine, but realistically you're not going to have like a light follow you around all day to have that perfect glass skin finish. So that's too perfect, it's an unrealistic goal, and you also can't track any kind of progress towards that goal. Something that's a little more realistic is saying, I would like to lighten pigmentation. So if you want to lighten that, you would look into potentially using like niacinamide, vitamin C, things like snail mucin. You've also got things like tamanu oil, you know? So now you've figured out, okay, my goal is to lighten pigmentation. I have the things to do it with. So how do you track this? Well, you set a date, right? You say, well, okay, by the time I finish these products, I'm hoping to see maybe some lightening. You know, maybe I would like to see this happen. And then you track that, and you have to be consistent. Meaning you don't apply the serum for a week and then say it's not working and then stop. That's not consistent enough, and that's not over a long enough period of time. You have to think about how long it took for that damage to happen. And so it might take just as long to undo that damage, you know? So just keep that in mind. A couple of other goals you could think of might be having bright and radiant and healthy skin, and getting that healthy glow. This is not the same as having perfect glass skin, because that lit from within healthy glow can be achieved by incorporating antioxidants into your skin. Think of it like drinking a really healthy smoothie. You feel really great after, and if you drink a smoothie often enough and have a good diet, you feel great, and that feeling of greatness kind of just radiates out. It's the same with your skin. That's kind of how I view an antioxidant. So, you can also improve the texture of your skin. And here's the thing, all of these goals I've just mentioned, you don't need one specific product for each of them. You can definitely combine them. So something I've also been looking into is starting my anti-aging skincare process early, and I've been doing it in a really simple manner. I've just been incorporating vitamin C, which is an antioxidant, into my routine. So now this is doing two things. It is dealing with the anti-aging aspect. No, it's doing three things. It's also lightening pigmentation, and it's imparting a healthy glow to my skin. So one product can definitely be a multitasker, and I would look into that. And I look for ingredients that do more than one thing. For example, tamanu oil improves your skin tone, it brightens your skin, but it is also nourishing and acts as a great moisturizer or sealant even. So it's an emollient and an occlusive, depending on how you choose to use it. But I think that's a topic for another day.
And that's all for today's video on skincare as a form of self-care. We hope that you guys have learned a thing or two, and thank you so much to Alicia for joining us in this special skincare series. We look forward to seeing you guys in part 2 of our skincare series. Please follow Alicia on @𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘. Link is attached in our description. Check out her work, it's really insightful. She gives you guys skincare reviews as well as some insights on brand behavior. And while you're at it, please follow us at 𝗣𝗚𝗚𝗚𝗚 on IG as well. Subscribe to our channel and follow us on Spotify to never miss an episode.
Yes, thank you so much, Alicia, for sharing your knowledge and insights with us today. And if you guys have any questions regarding skincare or any feedbacks on our video, remember to leave them in the comments below or on our Instagram page at 𝗣𝗚𝗚𝗚𝗚. So see you guys in our next episode. Bye!
Bye!
Wait. I had like a notification come up.
Okay. Alright, let's do this.
Forms of trash, and it really doesn't.
Sorry.